every manager I ran into was still looking at Jermaine Jenas 2004-5. I own my career, take full responsibility for the way I dress, the culture. All of it dragged me to be like, this is who I am.
You would have been one of the best midfield players of our generation.
And Jenas has squeezed it home.
Did it scare you? Or?
I didn't make it as a professional footballer. My mortgage was being paid.
Where do you think you had your best time as a footballer?
That's what creates elite athletes.
Left-handed players are good, you know.
Dead players, man.
I met you when you was at Forest.
Yeah.
Your Forest team was serious, to be honest. They gave us
team,
probably West Ham and you guys gave us the best game. But I was saying to Trey, like, I don't even know. When did you start playing golf?
It's weird, wasn't it? Like properly, I say 2018 is like when I properly started playing, because I always like, you know, it's like when you're playing like teams, and you probably had it a little bit later on in your career, that you eventually, like, you come across someone who's like, oh, let's go for a round. So when I was at Spurs, like Alan Hutton and Bentley always wanted like to play golf. So I'd always like just every now and again, we'd just go and play. But I wasn't taking it serious. We were just having a laugh. We'd go to like the Shire and play. But in 2018, I went to the World Cup in Russia, and it, like, all the pundits, they take it serious.
The golf, yeah.
Oh my God. So you've got you got the ITV boys. So you had like Lee Dixon, Righty.
Lee Dixon's meant to be really good, isn't he?
Dicko's a player, mate. Yeah, he's like off one or scratch and like that. Yeah. But then you had like BBC, so like Dan Walker, Shearer, Danny Murphy was playing. I was like having a knock at the time. Then you had like the B in sports, so Ruud Gullit, Henrik Larsson. It was like a massive group of us in Russia, and it was like I was on the first tee out there. And I was like this, Jay. I was like, bro, like, I'm like...
I was like that in the open zone the other day.
I'm saying, like 18 handicapper, thinking, oh my God, I'm like actually nervous here. And played, enjoyed it. When I came back, I was like, nah, I'm taking it serious.
Yeah.
And I just came back, and I'm like, I mean, I'm literally on my third coach now, but like, I just love it, yeah. But I was like, I need to take this seriously. I need to work at it. And
I mean, me and you was at QPR together, and you had some injuries there, but you had some... I mean, I think you would have been one of the best midfield players probably of our generation, hadn't you had them injuries.
Yeah, it was messy. It's one of those ones where you kind of like, you look at it and, you know, I own my career, and, you know, I take full responsibility for it. I know where there was places where I could have been better. I know where there's places where I was very unlucky. And I think the injuries were quite unlucky.
People might think, oh, you know, he might have been not living right and going out and all that. You wasn't like that. So people need to understand that. It's just like sometimes your body just can't take it, or you're unlucky.
I think my style of play and starting so young didn't help me. I mean, when you talk about miles on the clock, I mean, I was box to box, and you don't really see box to box anymore. You know,
I said this the other day. Sorry to butt in, but I said for me there's a similarity between you and Bellingham.
No, I haven't.
Starting young.
Yeah, you're not the only person that said it to me. And when I look at Jude, and, you know, every now and again we have a bit of interaction on Instagram and stuff like that. And, you know, he's not one of those people that I want to you don't want to hold him back. But because he started so young, and when I watch him and I'm like, geez, you're dynamic, bro. Like, part of me almost wants to go, like, chill out a little bit.
And industrious as well. He's making tackles and everything.
Yeah, but you know what? You know, there are certain people... Like, look at Bale, for example. Bale's retired. What is he, like 33, 32, something like that? And he hasn't played properly for, like, he probably retired at like 30.
30.
Yeah, but he went hard early.
Do you think that style of play definitely impacts your career
100%.
in terms of how long you
Of course it does. Yeah, everybody.
Like
Giggs.
mileage on.
Look at Giggs, right? Yeah. Giggs he couldn't fly down the wing and do what he was doing for God knows how long. Rooney, all these guys, they eventually just find a new position. And the way that it works is you come across managers and times in your career at certain football clubs that accommodate that. Whereas every manager I ran into was still looking at Jermaine Jenas 2004-5 going, I want you box to box. And I'm like,
you can't
my body can't do that anymore. Why? Like, realistically, when I got to QPR, I should have just sat in front of the back four and just hit passes and just chilled there for a while.
But even then, they was trying to get you to go forward as well.
When I first arrived, obviously... that team was mad, wasn't it? Like, honestly, I can't believe what I walked into.
The team was... Listen, the changing room was even worse.
I just remember, like, when I signed and looking around going, how is this team bottom of the league? We had, like, Esteban Granero, Jason Park, Jose Bosingwa, Loic Remy up top. Like, you were there, Wrighty was there. And I'm looking at it going,
Jibril was there.
I know the quality in this team. Like, what is going on?
Why is that?
There was just a change room. There was a big divide in the change room
People
for me.
didn't care. Yeah. No one cared.
Like, there was players that have had a great career, won the highest honours, and it just came there. I'm at the end of my career. I've got some big money now,
and they're just
seeing
they're in London.
They're gonna Like, I remember some player said, "You don't want to go outside today training because it's raining." It's man. It was just going through the motions.
It was, but I remember, like, even in games that Harry would, when we was in the Premier League, and Harry would come to me and be like, "Listen, I don't trust the midfield. I just need you just to sit in there." And when that was probably my best period. That, like, when we were in the Prem, and I think the minute I scored that goal against Sunderland, and I stayed in the team, and I was playing really well right to the end of the season when I picked up an ankle injury and missed the last game of the season. But I felt like, oh, this might be the new me now, because I'm starting to sit. I'm not doing crazy stuff, and I felt really comfortable and actually fitter in a weird way. But then as soon as we got into the Championship, I mean, Harry did what he always does with me. He chucks a wrinkle in there where you're just like, how am I not playing in the Championship? Like, I got head loss. He wants me box to box. It was a mad end.
Here's an interesting take then. Obviously, there's somebody coming up to you and saying that they rely on you as an individual, and relating that to golf. Like, golf, you are an individual in that sport, but football, you're very much in a team, but you are very much still an individual if somebody's relying on you.
Because I was telling him as well, like, as much as you're in a team and you're playing together to win, you're still competing against each other at the same time.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That's the thing. And I was
Every
saying,
day.
I mean, I was always moaning, especially when at QPR, because I felt like when I did play, I played pretty well, but I wasn't getting the opportunities because there was like names there ahead of me. And for me, I was almost thinking in my head, I need you to get injured for me to have a chance.
Yeah.
And even when I did, I played against Southampton and I scored. We won. I think we won 1-0.
Away, yeah,
and I was back at the team again.
Did, yeah.
And I was like,
and that was a massive game for us. I remember, and it was a tough game. But I think the politics around that time, you got to understand at that point, you might have a striker on at QPR easily like 150 grand a week, and
so it's like they're just going.
And even though Jay's playing much better than that player at that particular time, like from the political landscape, they're just like, we're paying him, we've got to play him. But it's funny, when I went to Wimbledon the other day, and as I was going through, someone asked me that almost exact question, and they were talking about like the players, and I went to see Carlos Alcaraz, and they said, Jermaine, you played like in team sport. He's in there, he's on his own, his own thoughts, and the pressure. And I was like, I would have loved that.
Yeah.
One of the things I really hated about football was relying on other people a lot of the time. Don't get me wrong. When I was at Spurs and at Newcastle, you can get a good group and you got a good bunch.
Spurs team was serious, by the way.
Yeah, so when you got a good group and you look around and you go, they're not letting me down. Maybe one or two in that team are going to let you down from not preparing or just. But at QPR, it was like 50% at the time. You didn't know who was going to turn up.
I'll tell you what was bad as well, I think, at QPR, looking back at it, the players that actually got QPR promoted, apart from Adele, they were treated pretty badly, as in they didn't get Premier League contracts afterwards. They was on the Championship contract still. And I think from their point of view, when you see like players coming in on massive money and going through the motions, that alone must have been...
You know what's weird though? They're only just coming out of that, Jay. In a weird way, as a club, they've had to learn some really hard lessons, and
We spoke to Leslie the other day.
Exactly, this is what I'm saying. So it's like they tried to do it the fast way. It doesn't work out, and you get bit, and that is it. And unfortunately, the players that, as Jay was saying earlier, the ones that always, I suppose, the Sean Derrys of this world, the Jamie Mackeys, the Clint Hills, those guys that were there and doing it for hardly any money, but for the club, never get rewarded.
Yeah, and I think that is the unfortunate part of football, because you don't, even though you're playing well, if the club don't look at you as a asset, so to speak, they're not going to reward you when you need to.
But it's where they created the divide, Jay. Like, it's all well and good, like me coming in here and we're talking about that particular moment and going, oh God, it was a shambles, a nightmare. It's all created up there. They're going, I mean, and I don't know this, by the way, but from what it looked like, it was like, right, Jamie, Clint, you might be the core group that's got us up, but no, we're not giving you no new deals. So they're going to feel a certain type of way. And then you got like Julio Cesar coming in and Some Park and, you know, all these guys on big dough, Joe Bozzy going, you know, do I want to do this today or not? On massive dough.
Yeah.
And it's like, already you've got an issue there.
Yeah.
So like...
Divide straight away.
Reflected in the change room as well. I was trying to say to him, like, I remember like we was on kind of this side of the change room.
It was a mad
getting
change.
trained, and then there was like those kind of people on the other side of the change room. And it wasn't like...
it was me, you and Nadim down that one side, wasn't it?
Nadim as well, yeah. I think, like, for you, for your career, when I look at you, I always thought you was a really good player, but where did you enjoy being the most? Like, you know, physically living, being there with your family, mentally. Where do you think you had your best time as a footballer?
It's a really difficult one, that, you know, because I can't ever ignore the 02-03 season with Newcastle.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And it was just a mental year. You know, I was 19 years old, living in Newcastle, living the dream.
But Newcastle was a massive club then as well.
Huge, yeah, huge.
Bobby
was my manager.
We spoke about this the other day. Fans, didn't we? Like Forest fans, Newcastle fans, like some of the best.
Oh my God, yeah!
Unbelievable. If you're doing well at Newcastle, you're absolute god.
It was. I remember playing against Newcastle in the youth team for Forest, and I remember like we. I don't know if you ever did this, but whenever we played certain teams in the youth team, sometimes you would go and watch them. If it was like far away, they would get the youth team tickets to go and watch it. So we played against Newcastle. Shola was playing up front in a youth team. Yeah.
It's a handful.
Yeah, and I was like in the under-17s playing for the under-19s. And after the game, they were like, right, go and watch Forest against Newcastle in the Premier League at this particular time. So this must be like late 90s, something like mid to late 90s. And I was sat in the Gallagher end, like watching this. And if you sit in the Gallagher end at Newcastle, I mean, you remember the pitch, it's a big slant like at St James's Park. So from the Gallagher end, you're looking at that monstrous stand on the other side. And I'm watching this game. And you know, when you're at ground level watching a game of football and you think you're a player. And I'm like, this is mad. Like, this is so fast. And this crowd is, and I remember taking it all in. Like 2 years later, I'm playing for Newcastle.
Did it scare you at all? Did you thrive on that and think, right, this is what I want to do?
Well, the minute, like, when I got in the Forest first team, because that's one thing I always had. I mean, it was much different for you. Like, Jay would have been looking at Bergkamp and Henry. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not a confident place if you're thinking you're going to be playing. Like, I was looking at a different scenario, and I always used to say to players, go to championship clubs because they need you. And when I was at Forest, I mean, good players, really good players. I mean, God rest his soul, Chris Bott-Williams.
Can't believe that.
I mean, I played with him. I couldn't believe the news. And Bartman was amazing for me.
He was a quality player as well, you know.
Baller.
This guy was underrated. He was a baller. Like, he was box to box as well.
Proper baller. Yeah. But little nuggets. So I had him, Andy Johnson in front of me, Gareth Williams was there, David Prutton, all these guys that I was looking at. So there was enough for me to know that there's an avenue through. But also, I'm looking at every single one of them going, I'm better than you. Like, I know I am. So I'm going to get there eventually. And once I played, it was just like, I just knew it was a matter of time.
Settled in and just...
you know what? I swear I hated the Championships so much.
The Championships?
It was so hard.
I don't care what no one says to me. The Championship's the hardest league.
Why?
Because there's 46 league games. What? Yeah, the 46 league games, it's just a physical grind, like Saturday, Wednesday, most weeks of the year. Yeah. Right? Then you get the Christmas period where you probably play about like, I don't know, maybe 8 games in a month.
You know what it is though, Jay? I thought about this for a while, because if you think about it, if you're playing like in the Premier League, a top 4, top 6 club, you're in Europe, so you're playing a lot of games there. If you're an international, you're playing a lot of games there. So I don't think it's the games, right? And I thought about this at the time and even after, like, post my career, and it's the quality. So essentially you're playing with worse players. The worse players you play with, the harder the game gets, because you're wasting the ball a lot of the time.
And
the Championship, they don't have no respect for you. It's just end to end, bang, 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 bang.
For someone like him as well, it's going over your head sometimes, and it's going back over your head, and it's like...
You get in the Prem, and the mindset of the Prem is, right, you've got the ball, what can you do with it? You know, we'll chill here, we don't mind. Like, are you actually a good enough player to play in the Prem? And when I got to Newcastle, and I've got like, you know, I'd be making a run in the Championship. And again, all due respect, like whoever player it was trying to find me, trying to hit like a ball, it's nowhere near me. So I just stopped making the run. I just don't go anymore. In the Prem, I'm like making runs and Solano's just landing it on my toe. Robert's just like, there you go. And my manager kept. I remember we played Forest in the season after, and like as part of the deal in the pre-season. And he said to me, "Why are you making all these runs forward? I've never seen you run forward so much." It's like, because when I run forward, I get the ball. And they're the little differences that people like you don't see.
That's interesting, because when I relate that to golf, and you've got like, for me, there's kind of 3 leagues. You've got like, well, more now actually. If we go in Europe, you've got DP World Tour, you've got Challenge Tour, and then you've got like the mini tour, say Euro Pro, which is no longer a thing. If you're Euro Pro and Challenge, it's quite hard to break through to DP World, because Euro Pro Challenge, you're staying in pretty shitty hotels, you're getting crap food. But then when you do get DP World Tour, then you're getting like Pro V1s, good hotels, good food and everything. Is it the same like Championship to Premier League? It's a hard one for me to gauge.
He would probably know better than me, because he played for, you know, bigger clubs than me. But for me, it was more like in the Championship, you'll probably get a bus most places.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Premier League, for those kind of teams, you might take a private jet, you might charter a plane, you get like first class on a train like up to Manchester. We did that, to be fair, at QPR, didn't we?
There's a lot of stuff you don't factor in until it hits you in the face. Do you know what I mean? So like when you are at a big club, you just go to the airport, everything, you just fly everywhere, and you know, your food, your shakes, everything's so military. You know, you come to the training ground, there's your shake, there's your supplements, there's this, the food's good. And then you'll go, you know, I remember when I went to Forest towards the end of my career, and it was like, and my sir came in twice a week. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this is a championship club. Like, yeah, whereas when I was at Spurs and Newcastle, you got like 4 or 5 masseurs and specific people for specific things, like chiropractors and foot specialists and all sorts.
Everything.
Yeah. Whereas here, it was like twice a week for a massage. I'm having to basically organise my own massage. I ended up getting my own physios, because what I was used to just wasn't there. And it has an impact on you, definitely, like, because just the things that you want and you need are just not, they're not there. But I think the thing you touched on with the money in golf is mad to me. It's mad.
Yeah. Golf and tennis are the only sports you don't get a salary.
Yeah, I mean, if you get on the right side of it, you're living the dream, aren't you? But there needs to be like a level of support.
There's no middle.
Liv is there? Liv gives you that support. That's what I'm saying. Liv pays you up front,
but you still have to be a pretty big name to get Liv contracts.
But I'm saying the people that like can't compete with the top players, that are, you know, they're millionaires, but they have still got that safety net now where they can just go and enjoy their golf.
Yeah, that's what
I always say with these, with like even Incy, she's a hell of a golfer, and her story is like, you know, she gave up because she didn't like the pressure of knowing she had to make a putt or win to pay her bills.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the life, isn't it? I had that. You would have had something similar. I mean, I was raised by my mum. Do you know what I mean? When I was like 15,
in the 14,
15 years old. Yeah, but it's no different. Like when I was 14, 15, Forest were paying my mortgage on the house. If I didn't make it as a professional footballer, their mortgage was being paid.
Yeah, it's like Thingy said, you know, that Harrington. We spoke to Harrington the other day, and he said the best players in any sport are the players that come up with no options.
Yeah, because you like you just said, paying your mortgage,
no option.
You have to make it.
There's no option there. And my mum never put that pressure on me. I loved it, but I recognised it. And even at a young age, I was just like, this is it. Like, there is no plan B here where this is all going to be okay. This is, I'm dedicating everything to it.
Like, I always say my mum was a cleaner, my dad worked for BT. Like, for me, in my mind, I was just thinking, man, like, I need to make it. I have to make it. Like, I just convinced myself. Like, even my teachers be like, what's your fallback plan if you get injured? What about this? I said, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it.
When you talk about like Liv, right? And you know, I'm all for you know, something new and definitely in golf, something needed to happen, and there's no doubt about that. But the one thing, and you can correct me on this because I don't know everything, you know, about how the product sits. But the one thing that stands out to me that I don't like about it is there's no pressure. And 100%. Sport for me is about pressure. If you look at all sport, whether it's football, cricket, tennis, it's built on moments. And I
don't know about that, James.
It is. It's built on moments.
So would you like to play football without money then, without a salary, knowing you haven't got a salary?
It's not. I'm not. Forget the money. Like the money is. I'm getting money on the PGA.
But that's pressure, though, isn't it?
What is? Not for Liv. Not for Liv. It's not. You're getting paid.
That's what I'm saying. Not for them, but I'm saying if you're on the PGA tour and you're just coming up, you've got pressure.
Yeah, that's my point. No, that's what you should have. That's what creates elite athletes.
Yeah,
like
I
on
agree with
Live,
that.
you're not going. You're just getting paid, and they're just having a load of fun.
Yeah.
Like, which is fine. It's a new product for the sport to get spectators involved, this, that, and the other, right? Great. But when I watch sport, in a weird way, I want to see someone suffer and then come out of that and be victorious. Do you know what I mean? That is what being great as an athlete. If you look at all the great athletes, that is what their stories are. They're not like, you don't see Michael Jordan going, oh, yeah, and I got my Jordan deal and then became a billionaire, so I just thought I'd just chill. Right, and just enjoy the rest of my time at Chicago Bulls. He was like, no, titles, this, that, and it was like they're creating legacies. Whereas what Liv have done, yeah, they've shaken things up, but where's the pressure?
And as well, like, interesting point, if you are getting money up front to turn up and appear for, say, 3 days, where is that will and want to win? Because the tournament has only been here for a year, so there's no history backed up to it. If you go and play the Memorial, that's like hundreds of years of Tiger's won it, Arnie's won it, Rory's won it. You wanting to win that trophy.
Some people don't necessarily like golf. They're just good at it, right? So like Dustin Johnson's one of them. I don't think he necessarily likes golf. He's very good at it. So he's saying,
I saw him crying when he won the Masters.
That's different, though, isn't it?
Actually shedding tears. That's not a guy that don't love golf.
But he don't love it as much as other people. Like for me, when I play football, I love football. Like I love it. I'll go. If you said to me, let's go and play Power League, I'm coming. If you say to me, let's go and play on Sunday, I do go and play on Sunday. I told you I play Sunday League with Joe. So like for me, I love it. But then there's other people that are just good at it. Like Bobby and Zamora, he was like very good at football, but he didn't really like it that much. But he was good at it. And I'm saying there's going to be golfers out there don't necessarily like the game that much. They're good at it, but if they can play less golf and earn more, they're going to do it.
I think, yeah, as a lifestyle, great. You're not going to be, those guys are not probably going to be remembered, are they? In terms of, what they achieve. There's plenty of golfers out there that go and earn a living and, get along nicely, and that's fine.
So
but I'm not going to remember them.
Okay, so if you're Mbappe now, what do you do? Do you take the 700 million, whatever it is, or do you stay put?
I'm staying put.
Yeah?
Yeah. 100%.
To be honest, I'm with you because I love football.
It's not even. I don't think it's even that big a deal personally, and not in terms of the money is monstrous. In my mind, if I'm Mbappe, it's not even something I'm even considering.
And he doesn't. But I'm saying there are people that would say,
what they would go for.
Yeah, but why would you? If you're Mbappe, right?
Like, forget about.
But the money might not always be there. That's the thing. Look what happened with China.
Yeah, I get you.
China, they were paying out big money, and then they
stopped
something
it. Else. There's always something else.
That's ridiculous. That much money, like, is a joke. Like, he's gonna.
He's getting 50 mil a month,
He's gonna.
60 almost. 58 million.
59 mil a month. Yeah, they offer.
That is ridiculous.
Ballon d'Ors, World Cups, playing for your country. That's all like accolades that a young aspiring player will want to go and do.
100%.
Live.
Don't give it that
stuff up front. You're not gonna.
No.
Have that.
No, I agree. Let's just say this then. I think golf is a little bit unfair that there's not a little bit of like kind of money that they give you up front just to like get by, because there still can be pressure, right?
Yeah, but look at the flip side to it, Joe. The other side of the coin, like they're almost like writers. They can play till they're 60.
Yeah, you saying that.
The longevity in the sport.
That's why golf is amazing.
If you physically can look after yourself, look at Patrick Harrington now, Stuart Sink the other day. These guys are about to go and clean up on the seniors tour, like properly clean up. Do you know what I mean? Like they're gonna like.
To be honest, as a business, this is why something like Live, when it does come along, is good, because PGA Tour restructure. I think they have got something in place now where if you do play so many events, it might be 15 events, you get money no matter where you've placed. You can miss every cut, but because you've committed to playing that many events.
That's good.
Even on the DP World Tour.
I think there is something on DP World Tour as well. I'm not 100% sure, but I know definitely PGA Tour. So I think Live coming along has actually kind of benefited some players.
I think
as a business.
Again, like I like the idea of it because of how tough it is. But like the cut is a thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's part and parcel of it.
There's more pressure on the cut than winning.
But it's what I'm saying. Because you get paid. You make the cut, you get paid.
Podrick said that. He said there's more pressure on the cut than getting winning.
This is what I'm saying. So why again are we talking about taking that away?
Yeah, no cut events doesn't work.
You know.
I'm not harsh, like, because I just think that like sport's been great for years, and for years we've created like some of the best moments and some of the best athletes we've all ever seen. And then you got to ask yourselves, well, why is that? And it's all because they've come through this particular system, and it creates greatness. It forces you to do things that you probably didn't know you was even capable of doing, and you take all that pressure away, and you might not do it. You know, that is it.
I like this, JJ. Yeah. You're right. I'll give you this one.
No, you might
You
not.
won this one. You won this one. Relax. You won this one.
1-0.
Growing up in Nottingham, obviously, you know, we talk about racism in football and everything.
Yeah.
What was it like for you growing up? Did you ever experience any of that?
Yeah.
Coming up?
Yeah,
Because I know Nottingham, they got some villages that are kind of a bit...
Listen, my area, I loved it, and I would never take it. You know, I wouldn't change a thing about the area, and there were some amazing people there. The issue was it was a predominantly white area where I grew up, and I had a black dad and a white mum, and terminology of language that was used that was just normal, N-word, monkey this, you know, calling my mum an N-lover. You know, I'd be playing football on the street, and my ball would go into the next door neighbour's garden. Old man would come out, get out my garden, you little... And you know what I mean? But you know what, in a weird way, it's so funny, because it's like, when I think about like my youth, and I got like great relationship with my dad, by the way, to this day. He left when I was 8. I mean, as you get older and you become a man and you have kids and relationships, you understand the dynamics of relationships and you know, being a dad and all that much more. But when he left, it was like fuel. Like, I was like, right, I'm going to prove you, I'm going to show you. Like, the racism that I was like going through, or I saw my mum going through, fuel. All these little things bolted onto me. But then I had great friends, like really good friends. I mean, Penn was down the road in Meadows, which is more of a predominantly black area. And I used to spend a lot of time there. Most of my family are from St. Anne's, which is another predominantly black area. So I was spending like 50 to 60% of my time at my auntie's house. And then a lot of time.
So is that because your mum, you was living in that area then?
Well, my mum raised me, but like as I got older, and I don't know what it was like for you, but you know, I identified with the black side of myself far more than I did with the kind of like the white side of myself or my family, whether it was music, the way I dressed, the culture, all of it dragged me to be like, you know, this is who I am. And you know, I won't force down these roads, but I remember being with my dad when he used to go and stay at one of his houses or whatever. We used to sit down watching like Real McCoy and Desmond. He made me like watch like.
He went about them times with them.
You know, well, you should watch them. Trust me. He made me watch.
Yeah, go back on YouTube and watch that.
Paid in full. Is it paid
in full? I
told him about that movie. He's like, what's this?
But so it was like, and I fell in love with the culture bad. I was like, yeah, this is me. And but you know what? Nottingham's a sporty city. You know, we've got the cricket, cricket there, you've got 2 football clubs there, and
Nottingham Forest being one of the biggest as well, historically.
Exactly that. And you know what? The biggest blessing I had with football was Brian Clough. When he went into Nottingham Forest, he changed everything. And obviously I wasn't aware of any of this because I was so young, but when you come through the system there is an element which is about developing young men. And then there's an element which is about kind of how to play the game and how the game should be played. And they do not, and also they don't bend the rules for anyone. There's no like, oh, I'm a new coach, we're going long.
Yeah.
Whoever comes in, it's like,
that's the structure.
Cloughy has set a standard here, and this is what we do here for the kids. Yeah, for the kids in particular, this is how we teach the kids. Whatever's going on at first team level, let them deal with that. But with the kids, we keep the ball on the ground, you pass, you move, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it just, you know, it fit perfectly. I had some quite lucky moments. An old coach who weren't my biggest fan, a guy called Mick Rayner, he left. And then Paul Hart came in from Leeds. Paul Hart brought through Harry Kewell and Jonathan Woodgate, Paul Robinson, and he was fitness mad. And I just, as soon as he turned up, because I was going to quit. I was done with it. Like I was...
What, football?
Yeah, because it was just, basically...
How old was you?
I was probably about 14, 13, yeah. It was getting, 13, 14, so like second year, third year at school. So because like my mum had me on her own, we used to train Tuesdays and Thursdays with Forest. So when I was going to like school, I'd have like school bag, and then I had to take my kit with me as well. So I had like all my football kits, and I'd finish school,
go straight training. But
I'd have to walk to the Forest ground. Forest ground was probably, I don't know, half a mile down the road. It wasn't a long walk, but I'd go and walk to the Forest ground, and I'd have to sit in one of the manager's offices and just wait there until one of the coaches was going to the training ground. So I'd sit there for like an hour and a half, just literally. I mean, there's no iPads or music these days. I'm just sat there staring at a wall. And he'd go, right, come on, we're going. And then he'd drive me to the training ground. We'd train, and then he'd drop me home at like, I don't know, like 9:30, 10 o'clock or something like that. Bearing in mind the time it took to get to training and stuff. And I did that for like 2 years. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
But when I played against you the first time, obviously I didn't know you, but you know, body language is a big thing. And then obviously as you developed, I look at you and I always was like, you know what? As much as you came from that area, you came from a bad background. Your attitude was always really good. Yeah. Whereas like mine, I might as well be on the road with these guys. Like,
was it that bad?
Oh, if you say something to me, then it's going to be a problem.
You did
like,
surprise me.
You see me 5 fights at the training ground. Like, I was just like, I couldn't identify with going to a professional club and the street life. Whereas I look at you, your attitude was always really good. Even when you wasn't playing and you was frustrated, you couldn't really see it on your face.
No, I think, like, again, my mum, my dad, but probably like Paul Hart around that time, he was a massive influence on me. And I mean, like, the rules that we were under, Jay, you weren't under. Trust me, like it was a different set of rules. Like, I remember first turning up with England, right? Bearing in mind, like I had Nike chasing me for years. Like, oh, we want to sponsor you, like throwing boots at me and gear and all that. And our manager, we were sponsored by Umbro at Forest, so he was like, no, nobody has any special treatment at this football club. You have to earn it, basically. Yeah, no one's getting like extra this, extra that. So I had Speciales originally, and then they moved to these dead boots. The Speciales were nice. You had the fold-over tongue. They were a nice boot.
Nice leather, everything.
Oh my God, then Umbro brought out this worst boot, man. And it was, I had this pair, and you used to have to go to the kit man and go, tell his name was, can I get a new pair? Look, they're a bit battered. And he used to inspect them and be like, you got a few more games in them. And I was going away with England, and I just remember looking at my boots going, these are so dead. But like,
boots are the big thing.
All these guys have got like, they bring like tempo molds, tempo this, and I was like Nike shin pads, and I'll just be there going.
So you couldn't wear them, the Nike that were getting thrown at you?
It wouldn't let you wear them.
You know what's funny though? Because you know when Arsenal, you remember the Dreamcast kit?
Yeah.
So at that time, sponsored by Nike, right? Yeah. And there was like a thing near Highbury, like a kind of warehouse, and you could just go and take boots or whatever. But Adidas were chasing me, right? Yeah, so like Adidas, but you couldn't change boots unless you was a pro.
Yeah.
So once I finished my first year YTS, then I was like Adidas. I pretty much wore Adidas like my whole career. But like I didn't like Nike because back then Nike weren't like they had the Tiempos.
Yeah, Tiempo was.
But big. Nike weren't really established like they are now.
Not till they dropped the Mercurial.
Yeah, exactly.
The Vapor was the one that popped off. Like.
Do you know who was great for me? Patrick Vieira. Yeah. I used to clean his boots, right? And we were the same size, and he'd be like, "Yeah, have these." Yeah. It was like he was sponsoring me.
But this is what I'm saying. You had so much freedom. We didn't have that. Even like little things like at the end of every month, I used to have to go and take in my savings. He used to go, Jermaine, I want to come see you.
Really?
I used to knock on his door, and he'd say, I want to see your bank statement.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, okay. And I'd show him my bank statement, and he'd be like, he might say, Prada? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, and I'd be like, I know, I just wanted to buy the new hat. You remember the hats? And he'd be like, don't do it again. You don't need any more of them. And he said, right. And he'd have like a number of what you should be at, like for the next month. So you'd see your number and go, right, okay, next month I want to see it at X.
That's true.
And then
that's good though. That's really good.
Mate, my first car, I had to go and negotiate with him. So I was like, I wanted to get I got a Peugeot 206. So like, I went in there, but I was like, this is what I'm saying. So I've gone in there and I'm like, I want a Peugeot 206. And Harty was like, okay, that's okay. What litre are you thinking about getting? I was looking at like 2.6 or something like that. And he was like, no.
And back in the day, that was like, like now, Peugeot 206, like 2 litres, like but having like a Mercedes, like top of the range Mercedes back then.
But he was like, no, you're not doing it. And I was like, all right, cool. And there was guys that didn't do it. So there was guys, I remember like Gareth Williams, he got this like MG convertible, and he didn't tell Harty about it. And he used to make him park it outside the stadium on the street. He was playing in the first team. He used to drive it in and he'd go, get it out now. And he used to make him drive it out of the Forest training ground and go and park it on the road, like just outside a petrol station.
So it was like you spoke about that and like when you're getting money from a young age, like how to manage it.
Well, I was even worse than that for me. Like, I was like, so like, do you know like some of the guys that I was hanging around with, they had cars, right? So at the time, I just thought you could buy a car and drive it. I didn't even know to have a driving license. So I was driving. I bought a car and I was driving it, and then about. So this is now Coventry, isn't it? So Gordon Strachan come to me and was like, "Have you got a driving license?" Like,
so you thought you just go get a car and drive it?
Yeah, because my friends were doing that, right? So I was like, I was like, in my mind, I was thinking, I'm driving up and down from London as well on the motorway and everything.
Wow.
It's like, no, you need a license. So I was like, so how do I get one? And then it was, you had to do your theory and all that kind of stuff. But do you know when I done the practical, I already knew how to drive, so it was like,
you was all right.
yeah, I was all right. So it was just the practical.
Funny, so many stories like that in football. There's one that I always heard about Damien Duff. And he was at Blackburn, and Duff was playing really well at the time. And but he turned up with a number plate that said Duff, like Duff 1.
I've heard this before.
And everyone was like, "Bro, that's going to cost some money. Like, how did you get that?" And he's like, "Oh, I just like went into Halfords." They're the ones that you could just have on like the wall.
Type out.
He just went in Halfords and just put it on his car.
I was like, that's deep in
like,
that.
what?
I heard that. That's jokes. I didn't establish that.
That's what I'm saying. He's proper. But no, all those like life lessons that he gave me at that age, I think really helped. Do you know what I mean? Kind of just.
So it was like installed from a young age.
Yeah, and again, it was about developing like young men. Do you know what I mean? Like even I remember being 17 years old and I was playing in the first team, and he called me into the office before a game, and he was just like, "Right, you're my captain this year," and I was like, "What?" And he was like, because he just turned manager as well, which worked out great for me, obviously, because he loved me. And we played against Watford, and Paolo was playing for Watford. I think Paolo might have been their skipper. Oh, mate, when I see pictures of myself, I'm like a child. I mean, I was skinny anyway, but I'm like, got this armband that's like sliding down to my wrist every 2 minutes.
Baggy sleeves.
And it was like, yeah, like kits down here. And I was just like, how mad is that? Like, I was like 17, captain of Nottingham Forest. It was just
that's how good you are. That's testament to you, though. Good attitude. Because when you're a captain, you had good attitude, good leadership.
But this is the thing.
And you led by example on the pitch.
I remember like looking at like Ricardo Shimika, and I love Ricky.
Yeah,
and Ricky was like such a nice guy, but I respected him so much. And he didn't flinch. There was no like, what's this kid doing with the armband on type vibe. Every single person in that dressing room went, yeah.
To be fair, Ricky's, because he was at Cardiff when I first went to Cardiff, and he was there. And actually, he helped me as well. So when he could see me getting frustrated, he'd come to me and say, "Listen, I know what you're thinking, blah, blah, blah." What was it like preparing for a derby? Because I remember, like, obviously I'd left Arsenal by then, but even from a young age, like in the youth team, like you're playing, like it was literally you're playing against the scum.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing that I never had, which is why I find it a lot easier. But I had a different type of fuel that I used to take into the games, because when I first signed for Spurs, it was the first thing I used to do. Like people say, "Oh, what fixture list?" I literally used to be like, "Right, when am I playing against Arsenal?" Because that's the game I need to be ready for. And when I left Newcastle, I thought I was going to Arsenal. Like,
really?
Yeah, it was like.
What, it was nearly done?
It was one of those. If you remember, like Vieira was going to Juve. He was going back to Juve, and Arsene Wenger was on TV, and he was in touch with like a few people, kind of saying that he was interested and that it could possibly happen. But then you're building the stadium, and he had this unbelievable market in France at the time, if you remember.
And always that kind of French players.
And one of the biggest reasons it didn't happen was like you had 15-year-old Cesc Fabregas. Like I remember watching him in the Community Shield at Wembley, thinking if this don't go well, I've got half a chance of getting this move done. And he was unbelievable. He was like a joke. I think he was like 16.
And even him,
Community Shield, he was unreal.
He was still good then.
And it's funny because I spoke to Arsene Wenger about it the other day, because I do some work with FIFA now, and I said to him, I was like, "Listen, what happened?" Like, because the thing is, like, even if Tottenham fans are watching this, like, what they have to understand is Arsene Wenger was today's Pep Guardiola.
Yeah.
Every young player wanted to play for him, because he was like, he took your game from there to there.
He revolutionised the game.
Correct. So it was like you wanted to go and be a part of it. Anyway, so he just said
the salary was too much.
Well, there was the numbers. The numbers were a problem. Not the salary. Definitely not. But he said I should have bought you when you left Forest. He said that's when I was on you, and I should have took you then.
So he's looking at you then.
Well, I didn't know that.
But at the time, this is what I'm saying. Like,
we had games all the time, though,
we had games, so that was us, and the only closest one was West Ham.
Yeah.
Apart from that
was it.
There was no one else. Like, we used to just turn up 5, 6, 7-0.
Batter everyone, yeah.
So like the close game, I mean, it could have gone either way.
The FA Youth Cup one was close,
Yeah.
wasn't it? And then you beat us at
Was
our
it nil?
place.
We beat you 1-0
nil at
and
your place
nil-
at Highbury,
yeah.
and then you beat us at our place. Pennant scored the. Oh, yeah, I won't go down that road. The preparation, because that move never happened. In my mind, I was always like, I'm gonna show you. You should have bought me. You should have bought me.
But that was always so. It's kind of like all the things that disappointed you, kind of drove you.
100%, yeah. And like with that derby, I never knew what to expect going into it. It was a bit like when I went to Newcastle first, because I'm not from the area. Like when I turned up at Newcastle, and I mean, I had some like 18 years old, just arrived. My very first game for Newcastle was against Sunderland away, right? And I at the time, I don't know why I didn't have my car up there. I went to get in this taxi, and this guy's like, JJ, big game this weekend. He went, listen, if you score this weekend, I'll let you have a night with my daughter. I was like, in my mind, I was thinking, raw, like, I'm gonna try even harder. But at the same time, you know what I mean? I was like, this is the level of love they have for football up there. And we pulled up to Stadium of Light, and I got off the coach, and pennies, like I remember going, like hearing pennies, like quickly going into the Stadium of Light, and you come out, and it was just mental. And like, I remember they had like McAteer in midfield and Swartzer, who was at Arsenal, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Was it louder than Arsenal Tottenham?
That's a serious derby.
Yeah, you know what it is, right? It was a mad derby, and it was live. They both was loud as each other, I have to say. But the difference I had was this: we were second and third in the Premier League. Sunderland were bottom of the league. They were a dead team.
Yeah,
like,
so not really.
And you used to go into it like chest out, like you're getting it today type thing. There was always tight games though, but it was like, oh, come on, you know. Whereas when I was playing against Arsenal, the first thing that hit me was, oh, got to deal with Cesc today, midfield with Nasri and Van Persie and proper players and at a derby level.
But you had some serious players as well, like you had Jermaine Defoe there.
We did, yeah.
Ericsson, Dembele. Dembele was there, right?
He weren't, but we had a bit more of an inferiority complex when I very first arrived. My very first team I had when I got to Spurs was good, like me, Davids and Carrick in midfield. Proper. Lennon on the right, Robbie Keane and Mido up top. So that was like my first team. And then and we had some good games. We went to Highbury that year when we got the Lasagna Gate year, and we went to Arsenal, absolutely battered them. And then Thierry comes on, scores the goal with the knee slide. It's outside the stadium now, whatever. And
unbelievable.
They ended up getting top four. But for me, it was like, that's why I came to the club. It was like, right, this team's now going to start challenging Arsenal for that top four spot. And then by the time, there was a little mid-place where we took some batterings and the team moved around. By the time we had like me, Modric, Tom Huddleston in the team, Bale, Lennon, Van der Vaart, Crouchy, Gallas was at the bat for us. We had a proper team. Do you know what I mean?
Gallas as well, yeah.
We had a proper team at one point, and then we went to the Emirates and we drew with them in the semi-final of the cup, beat them 5-1 at our place. But then when we went to their place and beat them 3-2, that was...
There's always goals involved in that. I remember there was always goals.
I love them,
always,
Jay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When people say to me, "Oh, do you miss football now?" All I think about is those Arsenal games, and it's like there were some of the hardest games. But I used to love, like, when I used to come out at Arsenal, there was always like so much hate. Like, you used to look in the fans' eyes, and they'd be like foaming at the mouth, just hating you. I used to love that. Because my biggest thing I struggled with was motivation towards the end of my career. I used to sometimes be stood in the tunnel. I don't know if you ever played in a game for QPR against Charlton away, and Ravel played for us, and Ravel Morrison was he's in the tunnel, and I was leant up against the tunnel like this, and it was one of Ravel's first games, and he was like, "I'm really nervous, Jay," and in my mind, all I was thinking is, I can't be arsed for this. Like, that's what was going through my mind. Like, but
what was that?
I needed something just to
get you going.
It just was like, I don't know what it was.
Because you knew you was at the end of your career, though?
I think it was a mixture of all things, really. I was just a bit like, I was disappointed where I was in my career, in my life, and there was just no buzz.
You know what? I have
just
to
another
say,
game. It was like I was going out in the park.
If I look back at my time with QPR, like, because I felt I was disappointed, and I always say this, like, for any striker stepping up from the Championship, that is the hardest position to perform because you have to score. You might get one chance a week. You might get one chance a week, but you have to score that. Whereas a midfielder, a defender, you just got to put tackles in and keep the ball. Yeah. And that's why I find it really hard. I think
moments in it you lot live on,
but
and you live and die by them.
You know when we say about you say strikers are judged on goals, right? That's what it's all. If I was to go and get 10 assists in one season but only score like 3 goals, no one cares about that. If you score 10 goals and 3 assists, you've had a good season.
Yeah, goals.
But like I think with a midfielder, you can affect the game just by making tackles,
100%.
interceptions.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I think it's easier for a midfielder and a defender to look better than a forward would. So for me, like I'll be honest with you, like I would play well, but I wouldn't score.
Thing is with you though, you were a ball player, Jay. That's why I looked at you like that. You were, in a weird way, like you're a number 10. Yeah. Really. But because of if you weren't the size you are, and like the stature of you is, I want you to be my target man, and I want you to be as close to the goal as possible to bring people into play. Realistically, you probably wanted to come short more, hit passes. That was I played with you from when you was a kid, and that's what you always did.
I loved that.
Whereas
I just wanted to play football. That's football to me.
That's probably why you did well in Italy though, and stuff like that. They looked at you differently.
I didn't want to head the ball and flick ons and all that, and run channels and all that. I wanted to get involved in the ball. So when Wenger came and he brought Don Howe came, Neil Bamford came, and he's like, do you know, like there'd be training sessions, you can't pass the ball over knee height, let alone waist height, knee height. And it was just like, yeah, this is me. But then being in the Championship and things like that, obviously now it's like it's end-to-end more. So people would just try and drop the ball into me. And I got better at that, but it still wasn't me. So when I went to Cardiff, Dave Jones said to me, I'll give you the stage, just go and play, affect the game how you want. And then I was able to, to
do England debut that time as well, didn't you?
Yeah. So I was buzzing with
that. That's mad. That is. Yeah. You was in the Championship, weren't you?
Yeah.
That don't happen.
That doesn't really happen.
Yeah,
right?
That does not happen.
No. I was gassed.
How did you find it when you arrived? Did you feel it?
I was saying this to Jimmy. I was saying this to Jimmy the other day. For me, when I was buzzing to be in a preliminary squad. Yeah. Like I didn't even think I was going to get called into the squad. And then I got called into the squad, and then I'm there and I'm training, and I was like, in my mind when I was going there, I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm a Championship player, but to those guys, I don't want to look like it. I don't want them to think he's a Championship player. I want them to think like, no, he's good actually. He's got good technique and whatnot. So for me, we went in there and we was doing like 7-a-sides, and I remember Stephen Gerrard was on my team, and he was wrapping the ball into me. But for me, I was like, I could deal with it because my touch was good anyway.
Yeah.
But then I see other players around me as well, like even Milner. Milner was he's still a very good player, but again, he goes under the radar because great player. Ashley Young, I like Ashley Young, but then Rio and people like that. Fantastic. And even then, I didn't think that I was gonna play. Because Peter Crouch was there. I think Carlton Cole was in the squad at the time.
Was that a step?
But yeah, and I looked at them and I was just like, they're going to come on before me.
Was it a step up, or did you feel comfortable there?
I did feel comfortable once I experienced the training, because I didn't feel like I was out of place. Like I wasn't. Sometimes someone comes to the club and they're giving the ball away all the time, and they're like,
people like they got ruined in training and was never seen again.
That hurts you, because mentally you go back to your room thinking, am I good enough for this?
Yeah.
But for me, it wasn't like that. For me, I was just like, okay. But then there was forwards there that have played like loads of games, like 10, 20, 30 caps. And then he said to me, go and get warmed up. So I kind of looked around as if to say, me? And he was like, yeah, go ahead. And obviously I came on, so it was great.
Obviously, JJ, you're a great golfer. You play off 3. And you played Hoylake recently, I saw.
Yeah.
You played. How was that?
Scariest experience of my life.
Really? You had fans there. Was it the Sunday you played?
We played the Sunday before the tournament started.
Yeah. So you had fans.
It's a course hard.
Yeah. I mean, bearing in mind, obviously we were there for like a celebrity type vibe, but I was always aware of where the tips were, because I wanted to get a feel for what they were going to experience. So I was always like trying to go and walk and just stand on the tips and see what shot they were going to be taking on. So the first was fine because we all teed off. I mean, we teed off at the back of the first tee box. They wouldn't even let us. Like, it was right at the back by the stand because they want to keep it all fresh. But it was like on the Sunday, I mean, if you ask anybody around, it was blowing like you would not believe. I mean, 25 mile an hour on the first tee, it was into your face. And I was like, oh my word.
You ripped it down there,
Absolutely
didn't you? Yeah?
ripped it. But I was so scared, honestly. I've never ever felt this where like, once I got into my backswing and I was up here, I didn't know where I was. I was just lost. I was just a bit like, I really hope I hit this ball type feeling. And I just was like, just do what you do, kind of. And I just thought, just whack it. Yeah, just whack it.
Because there's fans on that tee
box. The fans were like this, all the way up the thing. And Victor Cruz nearly killed someone. I swear, he hit one of those like, fades, but he literally like shaved someone's hair like that. We all just went, oh my God. But it went right down the middle, and like I was just by the bunkers.
What's more nervous, playing in front of fans, first tee, golf, or football fans?
Golf all day long.
Yeah.
I could play in front of 200, 300,000 fans, football, no problem on the
Everyone
big scale.
says that. Yeah.
Like, it's scary, don't get me wrong. And as you go through your career as a footballer, like nerves come from like expectancy. So when you're young, you're fearless and you can go and do whatever. As you get older and you become like either a captain or a leader in that dressing room and you're expected to deliver, then the pressure starts to really hit, and it's whether you can deliver it.
I always say though that the tee shot is like a penalty. That's the closest thing.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
it's the closest thing.
It's about the closest. Yeah.
For your country or for in a derby to win and the first tee. Is that more of a comparison?
I would always take the penalty.
Yeah, penalty.
I know what I'm doing with the penalty. I know it like this. You know, if you gave me like 5 and said to me, right, hit that spot, I'd be quite confident of it in at least 3 to 4 times. You know what I mean? Like that corner. Whereas with a golf shot, I don't know what it is.
It's tough.
You're just not used to it.
For you, you had fans there, yeah? I did open zone.
Did you do it?
I did the open zone. And I was the same thing. I was like, I stood there. First of all, it was Bobby McIntyre's club because there are no left-handed clubs.
Oh, right.
So I'm using his club and I'm standing there and I was like, all of a sudden, do you know, like,
hands.
I could feel my hands weren't like, they were sweating.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I was thinking, man, is my grip right? Is this right? Shanked it left.
Did you?
like left at the lights as well, like completely left. And then Henny was like, "Oh, lucky for you, they didn't pick it up."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Wait, it can't get any worse than this." And then I calmed down.
I was with Jordan Pickford. He was with me on that Sunday, and he put it in that bunker.
That
bunker right there in front of you, because that's where he teed it off, and he went to hit it, and he shanked it right in that bunker in the front.
Nerve-wracking, man. That's
right. It just is, isn't it? Like, I mean, even when I went to the tee, they gave us the whole experience. I mean, we were in the dressing rooms before. We did the whole walk. They drove us to the range before. I'm on the range. Hideki was like 2 bays away from me hitting balls, and I'm looking at him like I was in awe. Just watch it. This guy's quads, by the way. You ever seen the size of Hideki?
Yeah,
oh my God, he's got quads like this. Like he's a monster, and he's just like he does that hold. He's just like
rips it. Yeah, almost like it's ripping it.
He's down one end. Matt Fitzpatrick's down the other end.
Because we went there.
And it was just like amazing.
Did we go there on the Monday?
Sunday night we got.
But then we went there on
the Monday.
On the Monday, yeah. We was on the range.
Yeah.
We was on the range, and you just see them, and it's like,
unreal, isn't it? It's just different. It's just different.
I mean, their bad shot is like still a good shot for us.
Yeah, 100%.
But like, I'm looking at them, and I'm like, just make a mistake. Just do something. Just fin one or do something.
They do, but they just
don't really sit on the range though.
Yeah, you do.
I think pressure would give you that.
Not as much.
But Hoylake was an amazing experience. I mean, the 17th was I hit a 7-iron. It's 135 yards. I pured a 7-iron.
Straight into wind, though.
Straight into wind.
Off that coast.
Yeah, and it got to pin eye, but the right-hand side of the green landed on the green, straight in the bunker.
Tough hole.
Just rolled off.
Yeah. And bunkers are high, though.
Nailed a 7-iron. And it was, and obviously on the day, it just didn't play that way.
What's a 7-iron for you? Like 185 or something?
Yeah, like 180s. Yeah, 185, like calm. Whereas, and I nutted it.
We need to play.
It just went.
He's good. He's good.
Boom. Sit down.
We do need to play. We do need to play.
Should do the challenge.
We got a challenge.
Challenge time.
Yeah. Par three challenge.
Right, let me loosen off then.
Come on, man.
You got no masseuse here, bro. Come on, then. You gave all the big talk about the pressure.
I like the pressure. Trust me, this is good. Right, let's go.
Oh, this is down it. This is a flush.
Get up, get up, get up.
Solid. Oh, is it going to stop? 12'7".
That's nice.
That's steady.
That's steady, man.
12
That's
foot
steady.
7.
That's
Alright,
steady.
it's not bad.
You got to get inside the 5 foot.
You're not happy with that, are you? You're not happy with that?
Hold on, I'm the top footballer, isn't it, so far?
I'm going to go a bit left.
So far, you are, yeah. So far, I'm the top baller.
Yeah, it's about to get taken down, mate. Don't worry.
I like this as well. Just left. It's cutting in.
Go on, baby.
Is it the right distance?
Oh, he's overhit that one. He's overhit that one.
20 foot, 3 foot.
Flying out.
He's worried now, bro. This is the last one. No pressure.
I know you're feeling that line. That's
To be fair, JJ, I like your swing, man.
It's all right.
I like
It's
it.
all
Are you
right.
envious?
Just needs
Of
to...
the swing.
Yeah, I like his swing, man. I can't lie.
All right, come on. This one. Take a bit off it.
All left.
Chunky,
A
maybe.
bit left.
Get up. Get up. Come out left. Then.
Don't worry, JJ, man. I've seen you off, bruv.
12 foot. And JJ, you
Did I? He didn't hit the green.
Yeah, I went bunker, then I went long, and then I missed short. I was panicking. Yeah, it's all right. But JJ's on 12'7". That is solid.
Not bad.
Solid performance.
Yeah.
So you're 1, 2, 3, fifth.
Fifth spot.
It's all right, man. I'll take that.
Two behind me. That's fine, man.
Yeah, but you like something not right about yours. Something's not right.
He added 20 shots as well.
No,
Exactly.
I didn't have 20 shots at all.
Listen, if it was my show, I'd be like second or third as well. Trust me. Definitely.
But JJ, do you know, like, I want to ask you this because I've had it quite a lot. You know, when you turn up at golf club, have you had any bad experiences? Like, as in, you know, like for me, sometimes I've turned up at golf clubs and I got the side eye, like, you know, how are you here kind of thing. And I had a guy one time just be like, "Oi, take your cap off." Like, I didn't know the rules at the time when I'm just starting out. Have you had any bad experiences like that?
I remember, I can't remember what course it was, but I remember having a fella chase me around the course once because I was wearing the wrong socks or something.
Oh.
And but it was a long time ago. Wasn't the stage where like I'm at now when I'm playing golf. Like from 2018, this was like one of those days where the boys just turned up. In my eyes, it was like polo t-shirt, and I think I was just wearing like almost might even just been like an ankle sock, like no sock almost, or something like that. Or actually, there might have just been black socks or something. Like, I don't know what it was. I was like wearing a black trainer, so I put black socks on. They were like, "You're not allowed to wear those socks. You got to wear this length and this color." And I was just
Do you know where that was?
Can't remember. It's one of those old school courses though.
Because everyone we speak to, like whether they work at Adidas Golf, you know, for tailor-made, anything like that, they always say that that's one thing that's holding golf back, the attire.
Yeah,
because some people can't afford to buy clothes to go to wear at golf clubs. They think if you're young, you should just be able to go to a golf club and, you know, wear shorts and t-shirts.
I'd have loved the opportunity to play golf when I was a kid. I actually would have. I think I might have taken it up. There's nothing like even like now. I obsess about golf. If I'm not watching it, you know, I'm down hitting balls. I'm doing something. Do you know what I mean?
He's the same as me.
And I never had that opportunity as a kid.
How come you didn't as a kid? Is it because you just didn't get introduced to it, or football?
You know, because you live up in the sticks.
Well, there's
fair grass around there.
Anyone who don't live in London, this guy's out on his dear grass. To be fair, right, quick story. Remember like when I bumped into Ledley and he was like, I was talking to him about being at school once, and I was like, "Oh, remember when you used to be on the school field and all that?" And he'd be like, "Field?" He's like, "We used to have concrete, bro."
Concrete, bro. You know, you had to stay on your feet, and if you went down, boy, you got raised hand, everything.
I don't know about grass. But no, I think it was just money and just the lack of even knowing where to go. To be honest with you, my dad, my mum didn't do it. Golf clubs cost a fortune, so my mum's not going to be bringing something to the table which she knows she can't afford to do. So my school didn't do it. There was no like. Whereas with cricket and with football, tennis even to an extent, you know, you had the local like tennis courts. Anytime Wimbledon. The cricket was good actually because they were much more like making an effort to be inclusive. Yeah, remember the blue wickets? But they took us to Trent Bridge to play.
You've lost me, boy.
Well, but they did.
You two speak amongst yourselves. I don't know what that was like. I don't know what that was like. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying though. But with golf, there was never. Golf was always a bit like. I mean, it might as well sit next to Formula One. it was like, where do you
But
even
that's why we
start?
died this. Yeah, this is what the show's about, because we want to help make golf more like equality in golf, more accessible to youngsters, and more enjoyable. Like I look at golf, as much as I love the sport, for me it's more of a competition and an event. When you look at football and basketball and whatever, it's more of an event, where golf can be boring sometimes, even when you watch it, because you just see the top players going around flushing shots. You don't see the bad shots, but it doesn't make it exciting, because you want to see, like you said, you want to see people have bad shots.
But I don't know if you do, I don't know. It's a weird one. Like,
I think people watching it, it's a different kettle of fish to trying to introduce young people, because people that are actually watching it are kind of die-hard golf fans. If I'm new to golf, I'm probably not going to watch. I'm probably going to go YouTube.
It's boring, yeah.
Because I'm not going to, I don't even know what that is. Who's that? Who's that? Who's that?
Yeah.
It's hard to get into if you're watching the broadcast. But if you're watching it from, I don't know, it's like if I go on Insta and see Jermaine playing, if I go on Instagram and see you playing, I'm more likely to think, what?
I can do it too.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
100%, yeah. You know what? I think like right now it's difficult for me because I'm in a really like privileged position, and people look at me different now to who I was years ago when I was trying to play, and probably walked into a golf club with no understanding of how they want you to behave or blah blah blah. And everyone now looks at me, oh, it's Jermaine Jenas, the presenter, he's BBC ex-footballer, and I think people approach you differently because of that, no matter what. Like.
I
So
definitely agree with you.
Yeah, so I don't have those experiences anymore, but I definitely know that they do happen.
I didn't like Sunningdale. I had experience. I played Sunningdale the other day, and I kind of like, no one said nothing to me, but everyone. If you go online, you'll see how much Sunningdale cost to play, and I went on with a member so I didn't pay hardly anything. I think it was like 30 quid or something like that. But even then, I was in the bar and I felt like, like people was like looking. It made me feel a bit uncomfortable, to be honest.
I just think like at some golf clubs, you either a member or they make you feel like a guest.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Do you know what I mean? And look, it's a difficult one because I've been talking to you today about like history and legacy and all of these things that matter to me in sport. And then you've got these golf clubs that, in my opinion, have ancient kind of type of mentality when it comes to the attire they expect you to wear, or how not so much how they expect you to behave, but what they sell is not going to help bring younger players to the sport. And they should be doing the opposite.
Two different things. That's competing at the top level, and you've got the history of champions.
It is, yeah.
And then you've got a history of like ancient.
Even, and it's like, I mean, if you take Sunningdale as an example, I think you need something like
you need to be recommended.
15 kind of like recommendations.
Really?
It's an obscene number. You need to be recommended because the fees are not that high, I don't think.
No, they're not.
But who's on that board? Who makes those decisions? I mean, is there a level of diversity to that board that helps with these decisions? I don't know. I don't see, but you can only assume.
From what I've heard, like Scotland and Ireland is so easy to.
Yeah, Scotland and Ireland. Yeah,
it's so easy. We could join.
They're very friendly.
Tomorrow.
They said we can. You can join Carnoustie for like, what is it?
£50 a month.
£50 a month.
And the courses up there are just unreal, aren't they? I mean, I've been to Scotland loads and not had one bad experience up there.
How do you, JJ? How do you think then, if the decision was yours, how do you think you could make golf evolve quicker going forward?
I'd like to see it as part of like the curriculum, really, in terms of like.
That's what I said. Do you remember I said that to you? Yeah. That's what it needs to be, right?
Well, if you know what it is, it's like,
because you don't need a whole bag of clubs.
I think with Sims now, in particular, that it's more accessible to all schools than it has ever been. Because if you think about those inner city schools that you would have gone to, where going to find a huge field, it's a day out, really. It's a school trip. You can't go and do it quickly in a PE lesson. But you could have a sim, and you could have some sessions down there, because all it is about to me when it comes to like that light bulb moment is, if you do a school session and you've got a class of say 15, 14 might hate it, that one might absolutely go, what is this sport? I absolutely love it. And that one person might not have ever had the opportunity to do it, and he's going to create a life out of it. If you don't give it to them and show them, then they're never going to have the opportunity to do it. And I think that's where I'd like to see.
I'm so glad you're here saying this, because I said exactly the same thing.
Well, I work in education. I've got an education recruitment company. We've had it since 2010. Me and my best friend kind of built it up. So I'm always going into schools. Nah. A guy called Craig. So I'm always going into schools and speaking to head teachers. And I know there's a lot of thought around the curriculum in general anyway, and that it feels a bit dated. We're teaching our kids things now that are not going to benefit them in 10, 15, 20 years.
Oh, so that money. Why don't we learn about money in school?
Well, money, taxes, but now it's like AI, all the things that is going to be coding and all the things that's coming in the future. We're teaching our kids things from like the 90s and so on, and they're not going to need that. But in sport, I just would like a real range of things to try. I was really lucky at my school. I mean, we did rowing at my school. But you have to remember that
I was rowing in my bathroom.
But it's what I'm saying.
That's the closest I got to rowing.
For the only reason why we did rowing, right? So in Nottingham, the home pier point is the National Water Sports Centre. So when you see like the kayaking and all that madness going on down the rapids, that's built in Nottingham. And I think when they built it, there was an obligation to take some kids from schools to go and experience a lot of this. So with my school, which was only down the road from it, they had like a rowing program. And the one thing I found out is I absolutely despise rowing. Hate it.
When you're injured,
I've got to do it.
When you're injured and they say go on the row,
nah. It wasn't that. It was more like when you're actually rowing on water, number one, and it's middle of winter, and you're supposed to like go over when you row like this. So your hands go over or you go under. Sometimes you just forget and go bang, and you trap your thumbs in between the oars, and it's so cold, and you're just like, this ain't for me. But it might have been, I might be sitting now as an Olympic rower, but I had the opportunity to try it. I never had the opportunity to try golf.
For me, growing up in a London school, the only thing we used to do was basketball, football, and then there was a little bit of cricket towards the end. But even then, like, this is me being honest, like as soon as they said, oh, we're doing cricket for this part of the curriculum, I'd be like, I'll bat, but I'm not fielding, because I didn't look at it as like exciting. But for example, like the first time I really got the buzz for golf is when you drive your first ball and you see it fly down there, and you're like, yeah, boy, that looked wicked. I want to do that again. But that's why it's good that they've got like Top Golf now, pitch now.
100%.
So you can see if you like it by being like in a kind of relaxed atmosphere.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm obsessed with details in sport.
No, I am, yeah.
And that's why I love golf more than anything, because the details matter, the numbers matter, that the amount of hours you put into kind of how you see your swing change over that period of time, and then how comfortable you start to get on tee boxes, and like all of those things like I love about sport. What I wanted to ask you something else, all right, actually, because in football, you've obviously seen with like our under-17s winning the World Cup, under-21s winning the other day. Like we have developed a youth system, which probably we didn't have that structure at. We had top players, but the system wasn't right. Whereas now, like the FA have got together and gone, right, we need to build teams that are going to win European Championships and World Cups, and we're doing that, and we're getting closer and closer. Like with the Ryder Cup coming up this year, for example, if we get absolutely smoked again, like we did the last time, who's the governing body in England? Is it my England?
So you've got governing bodies, lots of different ones. That's the problem, I think. You've got like England Golf, you've got like Scotland Golf, and then you've got the RNA, which I believe, I might be wrong, govern the whole lot.
thing.
So when you've seen the Open, the RNA
did all that, yeah. So is there a point where they then start going, we need to start putting some money into developing some new talent?
100%. And I think the reason why USA seem to do so well consistently because the collegiate system, because you've got straight from when you're like 16, is it, in the States, you're into that collegiate system where you usually pick a sport or you pick two sports. And that's very much a big part of your kind of school curriculum. And then you also competing, aren't you? So you're going from state to state and competing against other juniors. But if you look at the UK and even Europe, there's nothing. there's absolutely nothing. I went to a golf college where I went 2 days golf, which was with top coaches and practicing. But then the other three days or 2 days, I was doing like sports science. That was the closest thing that I had to any form of competitiveness outside of school, and it's not even close. When you go to the US to do collegiate and like university golf, it's like your life. You're dedicated to it. You got gym. You got best like divisions, haven't you? Even with football in the States at that collegiate level, you've got so much more when you come out of school. But in Europe, there's nothing. I think that's why we don't churn out players.
But they could just build like, you know, like we had Lillishall, and obviously it got shut down. Or, you know, in France, what's the one? Is it Clairefontaine?
Clairefontaine,
in France, and they could just have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could just be like one national kind of like
20
golfing. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, we recruit from this pool of people. They come to us, but their education and their sport are based on, you know, these facilities, gym.
There is England.
Absolutely right, you know, that would be.
Why
wouldn't they? Because if they did it in football back then as well, so like this is back when I was like what, 15, 14, 15, like, and they had that where, you know, all the best football, or I won't say best footballers, but footballers would go there and play football every day, but do their education. Joe Cole was there, wasn't it? Spoke to him.
There is England golf, but that's obviously national, so you'll get a selection of like 10 players at like boys level, under 16s, under 18s, and then men's. But that's just like England v Spain or England v France or England v Germany. It's not like internal, so there's no competitiveness in that regards. There's no squad.
It sounds like by hearing everything you said, it sounds like golf really needs to evolve even at the youth level.
I would say golf right now is as fashionable as it's ever been. You know, you got DJ Khaled playing. Again, when I was with Victor Cruz the other day, he was going over to Miami to play in DJ Khaled's golf day. You had like Migos is playing in this golf day. Everyone, like, it's mad. Like, it's never been more popular as a sport. So they're doing something right to get people on it. But is that
it's America though, isn't it though?
Well, I don't know whether is it the stars, you know, and then Michael Jordan's story coming out post his career about how much he played golf and, you know, against Larry Bird.
This is all in America, like we're saying. Like, this is all happening in America.
Do
you know what the thing is? I half feel as well, like in England, I mean, football clubs, they'll let you go and play golf, but if you kind of do it during the season and you play badly or something, and then they find out about it,
they stop you doing
it. Do you
remember the other year when Harry Kane went to the Masters?
Oh yeah.
He only went. He didn't even play. He just went, and then came back, and they had to go at him because he didn't play very well in his next game.
He's not flying commercial, you know.
He got thrown out by Nike.
Private.
Yeah, Nike threw him out there.
Yeah, because I think they lost a week after as well, isn't it? That's why.
But you know what I mean? It was like, you know, I don't know. We look at things differently in football, don't we? But the point is, for the sport to evolve, I think, and for opportunities to be had, it needs to be somehow in schools as part of the curriculum as an option, at least, even if it's like from a certain age. You know, like when you get to a certain age, it's like, do you want to do Spanish or German?
Yeah.
Like
you've
I should be able to go, like, do I want to do rowing or golf? I'm going to do golf. Like, you know, there needs to be something.
That's definitely something that we definitely had ideas of going into schools and just...
So we spoke to Adidas Golf about that. Would, you know, like, because there's some after-school clubs, isn't there, sometimes? Yeah. And, you know, like, for example, my son, he's like 5 now. He does like basketball sometimes after school on a Monday. As soon as he finishes school, you know, it's still on the property, but you're doing it, you know? Something like that.
Oh, well, I think sims are great. I mean, you can have put-up sims now, can't you?
You can like knock bowling pins down.
Yeah, and there's like games and stuff you can play in them, but literally ones that you can like almost like carry in bags and just put up the thingy. Because all you need is like either not GC quad or whatever, but something of that type of system. Set it all up. You know, you get there an hour before. Get kids involved, like you said, hitting bowling pins, knocking it into water. That's what, like, with my kids, when I have, you know, where I have my lessons, and like the girls are not that interested. I've been trying, but they're not that bothered. Whereas my lad, I'm intent. He's like,
he's on it.
I'm dragging him down every like.
My son was on the course with me yesterday.
There you go.
He's like, let me hit balls, let me hit running. Mate, he ran a par 5, you know.
There you go. That's all I wanted is to have a knock with him. You know what I mean? Whether he's good or not, I just want to have a knock. So I'll get him to play. But yeah, it's the way to go. Simple as that, isn't it?
It's been great having you on, JJ.
No,
really
I appreciate
your time.
Thank you.
I tell you what, one thing that I got to get you to quickly is two-touch, if you're up for it.
Oh, well, you don't want this.
Huh? Who?
You two?
Don't want it. Who don't want it?
Calm down. Let's go. I'll have a game. I haven't played in a while, but we'll go. I'm gonna say, are we stitching or not?
Yeah. Two touch, you can't stitch.